Half the world likes America, and the other half doesn't. That's pretty fair, I guess. Over time, the world's opinion on the US fluctuates, so don't get all butthurt about it, everyone. Sometimes we're liked, and sometimes we're not. A lot of it depends on the administration in charge and the current state of global events. And when you see how we act sometimes, it's not hard to understand why we may not be well received. Going back to the last 20 years, you can see on this chart that Bush wasn't very well liked, but then Obama was liked by everyone, and now Trump's in office and he isn't really liked at all. In fact, some polling indicates he's the least popular president in US history, worldwide as viewed by other nations. So a lot of times a country isn't liked just based on their leader alone. Kind of like when you hate your football team because your quarterback sucks, aka Cam Newton. It must be stated, though, that of all major global powers, the US received the highest median approval rating. So, countries either love us or they hate us. Also of note, younger people around the world like the US more than older people do. And globally, men see the US as more favorable than women do. Again, likely mostly because of President Trump. No matter what, though, there's going to be some countries that are just not going to like us at all, despite who's in charge. Today, we're going to talk about those countries and why they hate us. Okay, so pull up a chair and grab your favorite beverage. We're going to go through this book and talk about which countries hate America and what the heck for. Okay, so now we're going to begin our book. And the first chapter on which country hates us the most is Mexico. Why does Mexico hate us so much? What? I mean, we're next door neighbors. We'd even get their mail and check on their pets if they asked us to. When Obama was in charge, Mexico loved us. You can see on this chart that only 5 years ago, 2/3 of Mexican residents simply adored the US. But that's confusing because look at this. Obama deported more immigrants than any other president, even more than George W. Bush did. And many of them were Mexicans. Now, some camera guy went out and asked some Mexicans what they thought of Obama. This guy said he was the best president since Abraham Lincoln. What does that guy know about Abraham Lincoln? This guy said he liked him because he was black. Okay, that's random. And we're going to see that over and over. Obama was loved by lots of people around the world and didn't even really earn it. Anyways, Mexico was always resentful of us for taking away a large part of their land back in the mid-1800s when we defeated them in the Mexican-American War and got California. Now, Trump is not popular in Mexico, and as a result, the U.S. as a whole isn't either, despite the fact that 2/3 of Mexican imports are here in the U.S. Trump made the wall bigger, and the jobs here have stagnated a little bit, and he's seen as a threat to Mexico's self-interests, and as a result, it's almost like Mexicans are saying, if you don't like us, we don't like you either. Dang, Mexico, that hurts. I thought we were besties. Let's continue. Our next country that hates the USA the most is Austria. What the? Austria hates us? Apparently more so than many other countries. 55% of Austrians have a non-favorable view of America right now. Part of the whole anti-US sentiment in Austria is because US officials have scolded Austria for trading with Iran and North Korea. But who cares about that? So what? Many Austrians poo-poo our involvement in the Middle East. Apparently they feel like they have to deal with the immediate consequences because they're so close by. And a lot of it has to do with World War II and how we bombed many cities in Austria. This guy says it's because we can't ski very well. What the? Oh yeah? Maybe we can't ski well, but we'd kick your butt in Monopoly. There. Maybe that will help. Probably not. This Austrian guy said Trump and Putin are meddling in European affairs too often, and that Trump doesn't care about the environment, he's dangerous and erratic, and on and on and on and on. Actually, across all of Europe, there aren't too many countries that keep our pictures in their locket. Western European nations like Germany, France, Spain, and especially the Scandinavian nations of Finland, Sweden, and Norway, they kind of think we're jerks. Or at least our president is. And that hurts. That cuts deep, Europe. This is real provocative stuff. A real page-turner, people. Chapter 3 brings us to a nation that isn't a surprise, Egypt, where 58% of the people there say they think we're real bozos. And this won't be the first Islamic country we'll talk about either. 90% of Egyptians practice a faith called Sunni Muslim, which frowns upon the sex, drugs, and opulence and decadence that we enjoy here in America. And our support of Israel over time hasn't helped here either. Egypt is the most popular country in the Arab world and a key ally of the US in its effort to fight terrorism and promote stability in the region, so you think they'd like us and all. However, recent cuts to free money we give to Egypt doesn't help. I guess they only like us when we pick up the tab. Kind of sounds like a girl I used to date. Egypt has a new president, Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. Am I saying that right? Anyways, he's a dictator, and Trump thinks he's great, calling him his favorite dictator. Egyptians don't like that very much. Other people in Egypt don't like Americans because they think we're self-centered. They say we do little to understand their culture. Egypt's a modern nation, but they think many Americans only think of Egypt as camels and pyramids, and I am so offended by that. I'm sorry you feel this way about us. Can we be friends? P.S. Do you belly dance? Chapter 4 brings us to the very dangerous nation of Pakistan, where 6 in 10 people say they do not have a favorable view of the United States, and that is so mean. And that's despite the fact that we give Pakistan $1 billion in foreign aid and $1 billion in military aid every year. Now, after 9/11, we focused a lot of our attention on Pakistan, and we've continued to focus a lot of attention here to combat global extremism. And we went into Pakistan to track down Osama bin Laden in 2011, and many people in Pakistan didn't like that very much either. Well, too bad. Now, Trump has stated that he won't tolerate Pakistan harboring bad, mean people, and Pakistanis distrust our involvement in the Middle East. Of course, the US has tactically supported Pakistani dictatorships, despite the fact that we supposedly support democracies, and us launching drone strikes on Pakistan doesn't help.
Did you know Pakistan has the world's 5th biggest population?
No way. That's not true. Countries with the most people. OMG, Mappy, you're right. Pakistan has 233 million people? What the? I had no idea. That's a lot of hate, people. A lot of hate. Hey, Mappy, do you care that other countries hate us?
I didn't do anything to anyone. Why do they hate me?
Don't worry, Mappy. Nobody hates you. Okay, well, some people do, but they're just ungrateful and shallow-minded. Man, there's a lot of hate coming our way from around the world. This book isn't very uplifting. Let's continue. The next ungrateful country, Belarus. Where the heck is Belarus and why do they hate us? Belarus, I learned, is an Eastern European country near Ukraine and Latvia. If you live in Belarus, I apologize for being so naive. Please don't hate me any more than you already do. Nearly 2/3 of Belarusians hate America, and when you look at the history, you can kind of see why. Many former Soviet Union countries in Eastern Europe still harbor dislike for America because of our meddling during the Cold War mostly, and other meddling we did in the region in general, like backing rival nations during sensitive times, whatever. Plus, of all former Soviet states, Belarus likes Russia the most. And as we'll see later in this video, Russia doesn't like the US very much. So if your BFF doesn't like us, then that must mean you can't like us either. Let's see if we can make this better between our nations. Hi, I'm a YouTube star. I love your country. Please don't hate on us anymore. Love, Nick. There. The nation of Lebanon doesn't like us very much. About 2/3 of this little nation wedged between Israel and Syria hates the US, actually. But you know what? Lebanon doesn't like anyone. They hate Europe too. And it's not a religious thing. Almost half of Lebanon people are Christians. Lebanon hates Israel because Israel always bombs Lebanon. And we're friends with Israel, so Lebanon hates us. That's pretty much the gist of it. I might make things worse by trying to comment on any of these stories, so I'll just move on. Let's go ahead and move on to our next chapter in our somewhat depressing novel. This chapter is about Iran. According to many news stories that I Googled, things haven't really been too pleasant between our two nations for a long time now. Like, ever. During the 50s, we meddled with Iran's leadership. Then in the 70s, Iranian revolutionaries took a bunch of Americans hostage for more than a year. Then we put sanctions on them so they'd stop making nuclear weapons. Then Trump ordered an airstrike that killed their top general. Of course, a lot of this has to do with us controlling Iran's vast oil fields, so what? Now, what's interesting about this is that Iranians as a whole don't appear to hate US people per se. They hate our politicians and our policies. The US is home to about 1 million Iranians, and nearly half of those are in California alone. Maybe that's why Iran doesn't like us, because California is a very tough place to love, people. Oh man, this is going to be a complicated one. Things between China and the US are very much icy. The hate goes both ways and way back in time. Not too long ago, the Chinese helped North Korea and fought against us in the Korean War. All we were trying to do was stop South Korea from being taken over by communists. I mean, geez, people, come on. Our nations have fought over policies involving Taiwan for a long time. And then Obama and Hillary Clinton came in and pissed off the Chinese with East Asia meddling. And then Trump stood up to China and launched a trade war. And then there was a time we messed with our own dollar to screw with China's economy. And then China launched cyber warfare on us lots of times. And now China's buying up all of our real estate and nobody knows what they're up to now. And then this whole healthcare crisis hit, which has even further flared up tensions between the two nations. The US blames China for starting the problem, and China says our handling of the crisis has put the world's economy in jeopardy, and things are probably never going to get any rosier, people, so let's just agree to not like each other. Which country hates us the second most right now? Palestine does. And that just sucks. It's not hard to see why almost 3 in 4 Palestinians hates America. Our government supports a two-state solution to the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, but Palestinians will always hate us as long as we're best friends with Israel. So all this hate over religion? Isn't religion supposed to breed love, people? Come on. And finally, we reach the final chapter on what's become a very spellbinding book. The country that hates us the most right now is Russia. And that is just such a shame. Believe it or don't, 4 in 5 Russians say they do not like America, and I don't think they're going to change their minds anytime soon, people. And incidentally, more Russians say they dislike America than ever before. Most of that's because they don't like Trump. The US just led some sanctions on Russia, which likely intensified their disapproval. Russians didn't like us invading Iraq, nor our involvement in the whole Russia-Georgia thing, or how we took Ukraine's side during some drama back in 2014. We helped overthrow the USSR. We flirt with Russia's rivals. We just don't treat them very well, and why would we anyways? Russians are envious of us, and they're ambitious to have our level of global reach, and please don't hack me. Now, some Russians have said that they dislike Americans because they think we dislike them. It's kind of an old-fashioned standoff between our two nations, where both sides are skeptical and do not trust one another. But if you look at the numbers, more countries hate Russia than hate us. So, at least there's that. And let me be clear, almost all of the people in these countries are great people and are genuine and welcoming and generous. Most just don't outright hate Americans. They hate America. And there's a big difference. Many of these nations don't like us because we're successful. Strong economies make other countries jelly. Many countries like us, or despise us, depending on how our global policies line up with their own self-interests. Many countries like us if we do things that benefit them. Now, which countries like us no matter what? Here's a map of which regions like us and which don't, generally. Take a look for a second before we move on. Face it, people, we have a target on our back because we meddle in just about every nation's affairs, and we have a history of trying to make the world more like ours. We have some countries that just aren't cool with us being the global police. Overall, a lot of people like Americans. They just don't like the way we go about doing things, and sometimes, many times, they don't like who we choose as our leaders. The end on that one. Why can't our countries be friends? We've helped in wars and attacked them. Your money grew and we let you come stay with us. And if you threw a summit and invited everyone you knew, you can trust the biggest gift would be from us, and the card attached would say, why can't our countries be friends? Why don't you like us anymore? I don't get it. You want $1 billion? Yeah? Oh, okay, now we're friends. Hey guys, if you learned something new or you just like this video, make sure to like it. And if you really like this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get all of our videos about what it's like to live in different places in America.